y'all, it's Amanda here at RoyalDaughterDesigns.com, and I'm bringing you a vlog today because there are some things I have been thinking about and dwelling on for many weeks, and I wanted to share them with you. I know some people are truly gifted and able to communicate their heart and soul through the written word, but I sometimes wonder if the lack of face-to-face communication or the inability to hear someone's tone of voice or to see their expression, I wonder if that leaves room for misinterpretation or misunderstanding sometimes. And I don't want that today. I want you guys to be able to hear what I have to say through my own mouth, through my own voice, and hopefully through that be able to hear my heart, because what I want to talk about today is popularity in the blogging community. Now, when I think about popular bloggers, I am talking about the women who have been truly successful. We might identify them as superstar or big box bloggers. They have built up a name and a brand for themselves through blogging, and they have name recognition and they hold credibility among other bloggers. These are women who have large followings, who are often very vocal and very interactive in the community on their blogs. And they, as a result, as it turns out, these women are the ones who speak at blog conferences. Some of them put on blog conferences. They publish books, they show up on TV, on daytime TV talk shows, or on the radio, or in magazines. I'm talking about these types of bloggers who have just come so far in their blogging journey and have been wildly successful through it. Now, it doesn't take very long through our own blogging journey before we start to recognize these women. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular or anyone specifically. I'm not trying to build anyone up or bring them down at all. I'm only using generalizations when I talk about popular bloggers, just for the sake of discussion. So please don't sit there and wonder, well, who is she talking about? Because I'm not talking about anyone in particular. But like I said, it doesn't take long in our own journeys as bloggers before we start to become aware of these big bloggers. And at some point in time, we decide that we want to get involved in what's happening on their blogs. Now, sometimes it's a selfish motivation. Sometimes there are bloggers who they tweet and they comment and they email because all they're looking for is more exposure for their own blogs. But, you know, while that happens, and it probably happens a lot, there are also those of us who have a less selfish motivation, where we see the life and the vitality on these big blogs, and we want to emulate that and imitate that on our own blogs because we recognize that these women have taken the advantage of the influence they have, and they're using it for good. And so there's some of us who we tweet and we comment and we email and we comment on Facebook in hopes of catching their attention because we sort of want to be mentored by them so that we can draw from their experience and their wisdom and kind of duplicate it on our own blogs. Well, as it turns out, sometimes real interaction and real communication really does happen. But at the end of it, we all still find ourselves on the outside, and we are not in that inner circle of popular bloggers, and we are not really on a first name basis with them. We're just still on the outside. And I think that's when blog envy sort of sets in. And whereas up until this point in time, we've been comparing ourselves to these big bloggers who have it all happening and have all this activity going on, and we've kind of recognized our place as smaller bloggers, when this blog envy sets in, I think a lot of us deal with it in this comparing ourselves to blogs of the same size or similar size to our own. So while we've been comparing ourselves to these bigger superstar bloggers, we kind of shift our direction and we start comparing and competing with blogs of a similar size of our own. And you know, it's not usually something that's terribly verbal out there. I mean, it's not competition like selling Girl Scout cookies. Nobody's gonna just say, hey, I'm so-and-so and I blog here, and at the end of July I want to have this many followers more than so-and-so on such and such blog. No, most of us are not going to say that, but it's a little more subtle competition, and if you say that it's not there, you're probably not being honest with yourself or with the blogging community, because there's this constant subtle competition. There is this constant in the back of our minds tracking our own stats and our own followers and comparing them to other blogs that have been or are or about to be the same size as ours. And it's almost this hamster wheel of competition and comparing that is very difficult to get out of. And at some point in time, many of us just get frustrated with the constant numbers game that we all play as bloggers. And so that's when these blog posts start showing up that say, I kind of haven't been sticking to my original purpose in blogging, and I've worried too much about the numbers, and I really want to be true to myself, so things are going to be a little different around here. And we've all seen those posts, and those definitely hold weight with me. But as it turns out, it's very, very difficult to truly get off of the bandwagon that is so focused on the number of followers. So here's what I want to talk about, how we can deal with that in relationship to what we know about these big superstar bloggers. So what I want you to do is I want you to take off your glasses that view these women as superstar bloggers or popular or wildly successful, however you would identify these popular bloggers, whatever words you would use to identify them. Take those glasses off and set them aside and put on the glasses that view these women as leaders, because that's what they are. These women are leaders in the blogging community. They are in a position of leadership and they take it seriously, and because of their leadership in the blogging community, you and I have this opportunity to also be leaders in the blogging community. So what makes these women leaders? Well, the one thing that makes them leaders is that they have followers. But what makes them good leaders is that they recognize that with leadership comes responsibility, and they take that responsibility seriously, and they have embraced that responsibility. And they also recognize that with leadership comes risk. And these big bloggers who we're not looking at as popular, but we're looking at them as good leaders, these leaders have weighed the risks, and many of them have leveraged their lives and their families and their careers, but they've decided that it's worth it. And so think about them as leaders, and then think about yourself as a leader in the blogging community as well. Because the fact of the matter is, if you have just one follower, you are a leader. Now ask yourself this question. If you have a follower, and maybe you have more than one, hopefully, but maybe you just have one, but you have a follower or followers, what kind of a leader are you? Are you a leader who has an understanding of the responsibility of being in leadership? Are you a leader who has evaluated the risks, the risks involved, and decided that it's worth it? Are you a leader who understands what kind of journey you're taking your followers on, and you go forward with passion on that journey? Or have you never really thought about yourself as a leader at all? And so you have all these followers who are following you, but you're not really leading them. Ask yourself this question and think about it before you write your next blog post, or before you hop on over to Twitter and get involved with the social networking that goes on there. Think about the kind of leader that you are, and place an emphasis and a high priority on yourself as a leader instead of on increasing the number of followers that you have. You see, I think we get wrapped up in these numbers game, and we want to push those numbers, those follower numbers up, but we forget that we're supposed to be leading, and so the leadership goes by the wayside. Or we get so involved with how much influence or how much voice we have through retweets and how many pins on Pinterest and how many likes on Facebook, that we get so wrapped up in how much influence that we have that we don't pay attention to how we're influencing people. And ladies, we have this great responsibility and this great honor as bloggers that we do influence people. We influence where people shop and what they buy and what they watch on TV and what kind of movies they watch, and we have this supper huge influence on people's day-to-day lives. And we get so involved and so focused on, I want more influence, that we don't pay attention to what we're actually saying, and we don't pay attention to what our voices are communicating through our body. All right, so here's my challenge to you. I want you to spend a few minutes thinking about, number one, have you ever viewed yourself as a leader in the blogging community? And if you haven't, I want you to consider the responsibility that you have as a leader and the risks that are involved with being in a position of leadership, and determine, are you willing to be a leader in the blogging community? Secondly, if you determine, and hopefully you will, you determine that you do want to be a leader, I want you to think about the words that you choose to use in your blog posts and in tweeting and on Facebook. Because we have this great power that I talked about a minute ago, this great power of influence, and most of our influence comes through the words that we say, through written words that we say through our blogs and on Facebook and Twitter. And I want you to think about this power that we have and determine, are you using your words to uplift and encourage and motivate and inspire other bloggers and those who read your blog, or are you using words that distract, that discourage, that tear down, and just words that distract and discourage and tear down other bloggers and those who may be reading your blog, because we have the opportunity to use our powers for good or to use our powers for bad. And I want to encourage you to be intentional in your blogging, in your tweeting, in your Facebooking. Be very intentional to use your powers for good. So this is what's been on my heart over the past few weeks. I really appreciate you guys listening to or viewing my vlog, and I know it's a little bit on the long side. I apologize for that. I just had a whole lot that I wanted to share, and it was going to be too much to put into a blog post. So thank you very much for spending time with me today. I'm truly honored that you have taken time to listen to this video, and I thank you for it. And I hope you guys have a great day. And remember, when you start writing your next blog post, think about your role as a leader in the blogging community. Bye.